The why is my closest 5 friends. 2 vascular surgeons, a gastroenterologist, a cancer doctor slash blood doctor. They all hate their jobs because they're clinicians. What's the genetic defect that makes so many doctors unable to lead? Is it ego?
Dr. Peter Wishnie is a podiatrist with 34 years of experience and over a decade of coaching healthcare providers.
A best-selling author and international speaker, he has guided many practitioners in building successful, sustainable practices.
I'm going to learn how to do it in 2 days. After those 2 days, I laid down 2 credit cards, maxing them out at $18K to hire a coach. That was my lifeline. That was the last thing I had to save me, and I maxed them out. And that night, I'm like saying, what did I just do? I think I can do better. The old CEO paid me a purely salary. It's a mistake on their part. My revenue per visit was the highest ever, but I have no control over the number of patients. They do is fire the marketing person.
They get to drive a Ferrari to work. That's the trade-off. Like, you gave up 30 years of your life to drive $300,000 sports car. It's not a life, it's a rut. There's a lot I want to talk about. Yeah,
Oh, cool.
I'm stoked you're here, and I'll tell you the why. I'll tell you the why. The why is, in my friends group, let's say my closest 5 friends, I've got a gastroenterologist, I've got a vascular surgeon, 2 vascular surgeons, a gastroenterologist, a cancer doctor slash blood doctor. They all hate their jobs. They all hate their jobs because they're clinicians.
Right.
And that's how you started.
Yes.
So tell me, we're a coach today. We started as a clinician. Everyone I know, they're like, well, I can't quit because I'm saving mankind. They forget to mention that they're sacrificing themselves, their family, the best years of their lives. So take me back, if you don't mind. We're just going to dig in, but
Sure. Great.
where did the epiphany happen? Or maybe even take me back to med school. Like, was this always something you wanted to do? Or did you find out, like, in med school, you're like, I've come this far, I got to fit it. Like, take me back.
Sure. Well, I'll take you back to when I was 9 years old. I'll take you way back when.
So paint the picture for me. Where are we? Are we in New York
Sure.
City?
I was a very sick child with asthma, almost died when I was 3. And when I was 9 years old, he was 5th grade, I missed about 40 days of school, hospitalized with my asthma. But I was a freak. I loved going to the doctor. I would say to my mother, am I going to get a shot today? She said, most parents go, well, maybe, whatever, we'll see. Now, my mother said, yes, you are, and I'm probably most likely. And I go, great, because that's what I wanted. Because that medicine, whatever he was giving me at the time, which I now know what it is, but made me feel better, allowed me to breathe.
Oh, okay.
And I said, wow. I mean, from that moment, I just wanted to be a doctor.
Was it a
have
steroid
always-
or something that they're giving you?
Oh, it's they don't do this anymore, but epinephrine.
Oh,
Okay, just make your heart rate so up. But it really opens up your lungs.
Sure.
Right. So that was, 9 years old, so 1969.
Yeah.
So, right. That was a long time ago. Now they go to the emergency room, you breathe into a little spirometer, and you get those balls moving up and down.
Right.
And they give you a steroid, like you said. But so then I went to, I always wanted to go to medical school. I want to be a pediatrician. And then I realized that, I don't want to be called at 2:00 in the morning, because back then we didn't have nurse practitioners.
Yeah.
We didn't have physician assistants. I'm going to be called 2 a.m. for a 99.9 degree temperature.
Fever.
Right? Fever, right, exactly. And I said, well, how do you get involved in sports medicine? Because I love sports. I was a sports editor for my newspaper. And the guys council said, well, podiatry is one way. And now the neighbor's a podiatrist. I visited him. I said, this is cool. We could do everything with the foot and ankle. I won't get bored. It's like, it's one body part, but I could do surgery. I could do dermatology, neurology, anything that has to do with a foot and ankle. fractures I could work on. So I went to podiatry school, did my standard residency. During that time, when we are just thinking about getting through school.
Yeah.
I would never repeat that first year of medical school again. I mean, it's horrific. And going back to what you were saying before, that's when we pay our dues. Doctors forget how hard we worked. At least I did anyway, to get through medical school. And then residency, we're having back then on 36-hour shifts at times. So it was hard. So then I go through my residency and I did a fellowship in Israel.
Okay.
At the hospital. At that time, I had one of the attendings. I had attendings from the United States come and train me, spend a month with me. And one attendee offered me a job in Rhode Island. And I said, great, this is going to be fantastic. That's a great practice. And my wife at the time, I'm divorced now, but my wife at the time said, what am I going to do in Rhode Island? We're New York people. And she was studying international relations. And there's no international relations in Rhode Island going on, right? So she said to me one thing, and she's the one I give the full credit to this owning my practice. She said, you should not be working for anyone. I don't like to be controlled. She knows that. And I show my own practice. So I purchased the practice. And when I did that, they thought, be a good doctor, put your name up there, the word gets around, and patients will come to you. This is New Jersey. I had podiatrist like 2 blocks away. Another one quarter mile away.
This is the field of dreams strategy. It's, you bid it and they come, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Exactly.
but a block in each direction, there's a competitor.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn how to run a business. I had to learn how to work with staff. I had to make sure I paid the bills and finances, collect all the money, market the practice, learn how to, even though back then, in my first 2 years, not everything was insurance-based.
Yeah.
So patients would still pay me and give them the insurance form, but then became insurance-related business. You still have to sell yourself.
Yeah.
I don't care who's paying. You have to learn how to sell yourself. I'm 29 years old. Never worked for anyone except for like Burger King, Toys R Us, and a camp counselor. The Jewish thing, Jewish camp counselor, right?
I
Right.
know what you've done.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm I have to learn how to go in no matter how old I am. I had a mustache at the time because I made me look older. And just to be able to say, hey, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I can help you.
Yeah.
So, and then it was great. I love the idea of building something and growing it. But then you realize that I was losing about $8,000 a month for the first 3 months.
Oh, geez.
I owed $300,000 between student loans, a practice loan, and a credit line.
Yeah.
And I had no clue what I was doing. And then what I say is I got a message from Gus. Gus is God, universe, spirit, whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
And that came through a machine back then known as a fax machine. And
I know it is. It's in the Smithsonian. I've seen it before.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It has a date on it and all.
Yeah.
And there's a message that said, learn how to run your medical practice, 2-day meeting, New York City, $99.
Prices.
I said, fantastic. I'm going to go take notes and learn how to run my practice in 2 days.
Yeah.
Now, I know about your podcast and everything. You have people who spend, decades learning how to run a business, right? And I'm going to learn how to do it in 2 days.
It's all compressed. The speed readers.
Well, after those 2 days, I laid down 2 credit cards, maxing them out at $18K to hire a coach
Wait, what year was that?
for a year. This was 1990.
1990. Maxed out
Right.
credit cards, $18,000.
All right, 2 cards.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money.
Because that was my lifeline. That was the last thing I had to save me, and I maxed them out. And that night, I'm saying, what did I just do?
Yeah.
I'm like, this is crazy. But William, this was the best decision I ever made. In that 1 year, I made more money than the previous owner did in any one of his 17 years of practice.
Well, so hold on a second, because this is interesting. So, I'm sure you've been there before, where you're on a stage and you're speaking, and there's some sort of offer at the end. And
Yes, of course.
yeah, right. And you're like, you're praying, you're explaining the offer, and you're looking behind you at the LED board or whatever, and you're like, gosh, I hope people buy. Right. I've put so much work into this. The price point is perfect. Um, and you feel anxious, like, are people going to buy? Wh- When you're on a stage like that, let's say, like you were in the early 1990s, and you're in sorry, somebody's on the stage and you're in the crowd. Yeah. And I mean, you're a doctor. You're an highly educated 99th percentile intelligence, and you're still like, here's my credit card for $18,000. Right? It's hard enough to like convince a contractor, a drywaller, or a electrician, plumber, a solar guy, but they convinced a doctor in 1992,
1990.
1990, in 1990, in the middle of a terrible economy, mind you.
Right.
I don't know, do doctors know about economies and stuff at that? Like,
All they do, it's another another way to blame something for their failures or whatever.
I see. Okay. But you're an educated guy. And you're like, yeah, 18 grand, here's my Amex. What
Right.
went through your head? Like, was it impulsive?
Oh no.
Or was the pitch amazing? You're like,
So there's salespeople in the back.
okay.
So I'm meeting with the salesperson.
This is like a Grand
Right.
Cardone type event or something.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And we spent, I'm telling you, probably about 5 hours with this guy. And like especially, I'm like, I believe in education. So I believe I had no clue what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
You have a solution to the problem I have. I'm ready to go. But my wife had so many questions,
Yeah.
skeptical and
Okay.
everything you could think of.
This is like a
And,
timeshare. Come sit with us, bring your wife,
Yes.
we'll talk about it. Right. You're there for 5 hours.
Right. And it was smart because she didn't come the first day, she came the second day.
Okay.
It was smart because you know in sales, who is responsible in making the decision?
The wife?
Who's the decision maker, right?
Yeah.
So make sure if you have a partner in business, make sure the partner's there with you.
That's right.
Right. So it wasn't like an immediate, like, let's go, but it was at the end of that day. We were there longer than most. We did sign up.
And are you, when you're getting pitched this training program, is it another doctor that's saying, like, I've been in your shoes, I've walked the miles, I've put in the work, I know what needs to be done. You can trust me. I will get you through this.
These are not doctors.
They're sales.
That person was a salesperson.
Yeah.
I coached as a business coach.
Yeah.
For all types of doctors, and they're not even a doctor. So the coach was not a doctor.
But they're
Right. But if you think about it,
yeah.
if you think about it, William, there's so many business coaches coaching people in businesses that the coach has never been involved in.
Yeah.
And business is business, I've learned after all these years.
Yeah.
I don't care if
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true, but this is my opinion, so I'm going to like put an asterisk next to it. There are so many aspects of running a medical office that make it unique, from like the billing and collecting, the collections aspect, working with insurance, pricing things, follow-ups, and now today with marketing and technology, what platforms to use. So it's like, it's nuanced, but I get it, right? A business is a business. And if you're smart at business, it should be translatable, right? Across verticals. I get it. Okay.
Exactly. Disagree. 100%.
So you laid down your card,
Right.
wife's on board,
Right.
and then you get home and you're like, what did I just do?
Yeah. We were sitting on our bed, lying on our bed, looking at the ceiling, and basically say, what the heck did I just do?
Yeah.
And then you just go with belief, just trust, and you the Hulk.
And they didn't let you down is the point. It really unlocked the potential.
Yeah. I ran to Los Angeles for a week and 7 days, 12-hour days,
Oh, wow.
studied. Yeah, it was like really intense. And then when I get back, things to do. And then eventually the coach came out to the office
Yeah.
and saw how the office was running. And we made a marketing plan. We made a business plan, and I just followed it.
Yeah.
I basically said to him I said, I need this in the contract. I am a good student. I will do exactly what you tell me to do as long as it is legal and ethical.
Yeah.
Okay. And if it doesn't work, then I want my money back.
And they were okay with that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like guarantees. That's amazing.
So that helped a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the peace of mind I think everybody wants. You know, it's funny with business coaches, as you well know, because you are one, and we're going to get to that. You could have the best offer and you could have the best curriculums. And the cadence of meeting with people can be, as predictable as, I don't know, as predictable as, bad weather in New York City. But the people also have to do the work. So I wonder, and this is a question for you, as good of a coach as this guy was in 1990, was he the better coach or were you the better student? And that made the difference.
Yeah, it was a she, by the way, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's okay. That's a great question. I think it goes knowing myself and knowing as what I know as a coach. Remember, coaches, we teach you how to do things, how to run things, right? And in the end, you are making the decisions as the client, right? We lead you to where you're supposed to go. We guide you,
Yeah.
right?
I guess sure.
We give you the tools that's necessary, right?
Mhm.
But you need someone, and this is a great thing. I don't know if you want to get into this now, but it is what you need a good student involved. So one hand, it's like, who's a perfect client for the coach, right? I'll go back to when I hired a personal trainer. My very first personal trainer when I was about 41 years old, actually was a patient first, said, before I hire you as a client, before I take you on as a client,
Yeah.
you have to take a 3-hour test. You have to come to my house, and it's not a fitness test. It's a mindset test.
Yeah.
He said to me, I don't need any more clients right now.
Yeah.
But I'll take you on if you're the right client. Because I don't want you to go start eating yodels and crazy food and pasta, and you don't look the part of having a trainer. I mean, when I say I have a trainer, like, who's your trainer? Because he's obviously not doing a good job. Like, yeah, they're 30. So he was really particular who he was going to take on as a client. And so it's the same thing. You want to, you can't coach the world. Okay. As a doctor, I can't help the world. You want the student has to appear, right? And then when the teacher will be ready when the student appears.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that kind of thing. And then the difference that I found with what I had done with myself and what I teach others is two things. The systems and KPIs and all that, the processes, it's the same, right? It's the mindset and the leadership. That's the key.
Yeah.
The leadership. Learning to develop all the leaders around you. Doctors are so bad at this.
Yeah.
And I think actually, from my understanding, listening to Simon Sinek and the other people in the world, most business owners are bad at leading others.
And where do you think that genetic defect to lead? Because they have the genetics to take that leap of faith, right? That type A personality, I'll just do it myself, right? Whether you're a doctor or you're other type of entrepreneur. But you're right? Just because you're a subject matter expert, you're, an anesthesiologist or, a pediatric doctor or you hang steel for a living. If you want to build a business of enterprise value, that's a legacy business, and it's not a bank, or sorry, a business where the business owner is getting his hand caught in the till every day because he's running it as a lifestyle business. Um, what's the genetic defect that makes so many doctors unable to lead? Is it ego?
Um, no, we just don't understand what leadership is. We've never been taught leadership, and it's not something you're born with. Le- we are from the thing about doctors as residents. We are told what to do. We're even being yelled at. Okay. And it's to like, when you're in surgery, sometimes you have to make quick decisions,
Sure.
right? Even as a podiatrist, people say we don't save lives, but we're cutting bones, moving them over, putting plates and screws in, right? And things don't go right. We could get flustered, right? Or during our training, we learn to keep our cool and calm,
Mm.
and we just we're in a situation and we be able to think on our feet quickly.
Yeah.
So our attendings, the ones who are mentoring us, teaching us, do some crazy things. Literally throw instruments, literally yell at us, distract us. So we never been taught how to teach
Mm.
and how to lead,
Interesting.
right? And the ones who are leading us are not very good either. Now, on the other hand, there are some very good attendings and leaders in the field of how they can teach others. But we're so focused on taking care of our patients and doing what's right by our patients, making sure everything is specific. We are perfectionists by trade.
It's funny, you
Yeah.
know what it reminds me of? Southwest Airlines, a very successful airline historically, maybe not today, but historically. They functioned with what is referred to as the stakeholder model. And the stakeholder model basically says, we are going to take care of the customer, um, and the customer will take care of everyone. Instead of, I'll take care of my, you know, stewardesses and airline mechanics and pilots, they'll then take care of the customer, which then will take care of the shareholders, right? But it's such an interesting it's such an interesting analogy because it's sort of it has this perfect synchronicity with what you're saying, which is you're just taking care of the patient. And you're hoping that by taking care of the patient, that then builds the business, right?
Correct.
But
Right.
again, right, there's blind spots in that strategy, as we see right now with Southwest Airlines,
Right.
that didn't work. So you can't just take care of a patient and hope that, through osmosis, or call it what you will, that will build a business and that will raise leaders. It doesn't necessarily work like that.
No, I always say you have to take care of your staff the way you want them to, the way you want them to take care of your patients,
I think it's a
and they will
smarter
take care of the
strategy.
patients.
Yeah.
All right, because they're on the front lines. They're the first people the patient sees. So they are, they have to present, the staff has to present themselves well.
Yeah.
They have to believe in the mission and the company and the doctor and everything else.
Yeah.
They have to be well trained. And that's what's missing too.
Yeah. it's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah. Here's a phone, here's a seat, go do your job. No one's training you.
Right. I asked you a question a few minutes ago and I said, why do you think so many doctors are unable to lead effectively? And I said, do you think it's ego? And you're like, no, it's not ego. It's just that leadership was never, part of the curriculum in med school. Right? You said leadership isn't something you're born with, right? It's like a skill that gets refined. But I wonder, like in a medical office, let's say, for example, I'm a doctor and in my practice, I have 4 other partners and we all have the same specialty. There's no ego conflict there that's limiting the business. I read a brilliant book. You probably never read it, but it's called Leadership and Self-Deception. It's by the Arbinger Institute, and it's the one book that transformed my company. Right today, I have a $1 billion company, and I couldn't make it work with business partners because you got business partners and you have investors and you have large banks, institutional banks that you answer to, or credit facilities. You've got bonds that you're issuing. You have a lot of people to report to, and seeing eye to eye with partners is difficult because of ego. But you're saying that's not the case.
No, there is when you have other doctors who are partners,
Right.
ego can definitely get in the way. Now, there's usually one doctor that's really involved in the business aspect, which is they love the business, and the rest of them just want to be doctors and they just want a piece of the pie,
I see.
right? And that's okay. But when you have a couple people they're opinionated or
Yeah.
and you have the egos in the way, and the leader needs to understand there's the leader of the leader, even though they're all equal.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I don't think anybody should be 50-50 or 25-25-25. There should be somebody making the final decision. But either way, you can't just say it's my way or the highway. You have to, there has to be trust. There has to be the books have to be open. You have to have weekly meetings or monthly meetings and show them that this is what's going on. And have them complete access to everything they need. Sit down with them, ask questions. We tell people a lot of things. We don't ask questions like, what's on your mind? What's going on? What are you concerned about? This is what's going on in the practice. How do we fix it? Get them to be involved in the answers and solutions, and get them to, say, that's great. That's even our staff.
Yeah.
That's just the great solution. Let's run with that. And even if it's not the perfect solution,
Right.
but it's a solution that could work. You have to gain confidence and build up. And but yeah, I wanted to have partners. I had 5 associates.
Yeah.
But no one wanted to invest into the company.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay because it worked out anyway, and they're happy to.
And I feel like today it's the opposite. From what I hear, to be able to recruit, right, a specialist, let's say, into your practice, they don't just want $500,000 a year. They want the ability to buy in. They want that equity. But what's interesting about what you said, and again, this is generalization, but you said that there's always one doc that's a business expert in a practice. And it's so accurate, because I talk to my entrepreneur friends, like I said, who are in my circle, who are all physicians and own and operate a practice. And there's always one guy that does demonstrably, right, like more work than the other docs, because apart from practicing, right, and they're also the operator. They're the ones that are working with the accountants. They're the ones that are like forced to speak this financial jargon of entrepreneurship. And then they have to be able to communicate that in the vernacular so that the other doctors who are not necessarily interested in that part of the business can understand and empathize. I think that's a difficult part, because that's donning a cap that doesn't necessarily come with more money. And so I wanted to talk to you about, when you are coaching, let's say, these doctors, how do you get them to be an advocate for them getting, let's say, for example, more pay or a bigger slice of pie, when everybody else, like you said, like, you shouldn't be equal, like 25, 25, 25, 25. Like, how do you get them to be able to advocate for that if they are taking on sort of more, quote unquote, ownership, more responsibility?
Sure. It's giving each person a role, and they need to know what their role is. So if you have the one doctor being handling all the, the practice management, managerial kind of duties, that should be an extra salary just for that, a small salary just for taking on that role.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to understand that. If you don't like that, then get involved more. Right.
Right.
right? You just want to go see your patients and come to the meetings and go home
Right.
and buy you 2 cents. Fine. You're not going to get that little extra salary. But if you just, not just, but you're truly a clinician, there are other ways to make money, especially today. Um, and besides only more volume, because that's not the answer. Doctors think the way to more money is more volume and see more, do it in all businesses, patients, clients, customers, see more and more and more.
Yeah.
But, in business, there's a certain cap,
Yeah.
right?
It's a contrarian belief, right? That volume isn't the answer, right? Systems are, because that's how you build a skyscraper as opposed to building a city block. Because a city block just requires a lot more doctors, a lot more nurses, a lot more, people, right? That add more cost to the business, right? But it's systems
Correct.
that allow you to scale up. Tell me a little bit about that contrarian belief that you have. That volume isn't like seeing more patients. Like if we could just see 30% more patients today, and you're like, dude, I saw 40 today. All right, how am I going to get 12 more patients squeezed into my day? I don't eat lunch. I don't eat breakfast. I'm going home at 8 p.m.
Right. So there are key numbers to look at. One is your revenue per visit.
Okay.
All right. You need to know if you're an insurance-based practice, what are the services that you provide. It's usually the 20% of the services that you provide bring 80% of the income.
Which is wild.
What are your which is your top services you provide
Yeah.
that bring in the most money, and market and focus more on that. Now, for the people who are not in the medical field, I'm not saying we're not going to treat the people who are, don't give us the most money,
Sure.
right? But it's how we go about the marketing aspect.
That's right.
And
Can you give me an
and
example, like just to
Sure.
contextualize it? Like give me an example of a type of medical practice.
Okay, so I'll just for now just do podiatry
Yeah.
and just say someone comes in, you heard of athletes getting plantar fasciitis, right?
Yeah. Of course.
Right. It's just as a swelling of a ligament on the bottom of the foot, but
Yeah.
it's painful. And we have other modalities besides, injections and orthotics. There are things called shockwave laser therapy.
Okay.
There's a lot of regenerative medicine therapies. They're all cash-based services.
How about stem cell?
Yeah, that's regenerative.
That's regenerative. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. That's usually PRP, right?
Right.
Or amniotic tissue therapy and items like that.
Okay.
Those are cash-based services, and that's not something you would provide on the initial visit unless that patient had everything done prior to the
Yeah.
visit.
Right.
Right. So, and if it's something that you see some amazing results. For me, I've healed partial tendon tears injecting amniotic stem cells into the tendon sheet without surgery. When I started practice, the only way to fix a tendon tear is through surgery. So it's like, hey, if I had something like that for a patient who can avoid surgery and possible complications from that surgery, and it's my duty to offer that to that patient. And then we can then go through our email list, just like any other business email list, social media, newsletters, getting the word out. Hey, if you having this problem, this diagnosis, before you go and get surgery,
Right.
or something that might be painful or systemic medication, we have something here for you, and you might be a good candidate for it. Things like that. So you can help promote that, get more of those services into your practice.
Okay. So you're in my business. I'm a podiatrist, and I'm looking at like orthotics and sort of like, you know, whatever sort of basic modalities there are. Right. And then I'm looking at sort of the more, I don't want to say esoteric, but like you said, right? Like the regenerative medicine, like modalities like
Sure.
the amniotic and the stem cells, PRP, let's say, right? Those are cash based, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So when I'm looking at the revenue per visit and I'm analyzing all this, And obviously, we can't just like force feed people, right? These modalities because it's great margin or something like that. But
Sure.
we can market those modalities, right? More effectively. We can start a podcast. We can have a YouTube channel. We can do, Instagram and Facebook. And like you said, newsletters and, um, you know, and explain, the success that we're seeing. Um, but again, this is a question for you. You come into my business and I'm the podiatrist. And I'm like, hey, listen, I want more of the regenerative medicine, right? Modalities because it brings in more margin, but I don't have time to make a YouTube channel and I don't have time to be on social media. And I'm trying to squeeze more volume into my practice. How do you're a great teacher. They went to med school. They're a great student. But how do you explain to them that for them to get the results they want, which is freedom is a strategy, it's not a luxury. And I know you're worried about not being the hero in your own story, but we got to build something and you got to be willing to give up something, right? In order to get something that you want down the road. How do you explain that in terms that they understand? They're like, I'm not a social media star. I went to med school. Like, how do you
Right.
explain that? The marketing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a different language.
Yeah, things marketing and there's the time. I don't have the time.
Right.
You make time for things that you're passionate about.
Okay.
You always so we're passionate about taking care of the patient, treating the patient, and getting that patient feeling better.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, actually, the patient feels better, but we feel good that we help someone.
Sure.
And that's a dopamine effect when you help someone,
That's right.
right? A huge dopamine effect. So that's immediately what they what their passion's about. So then we use time always, display as an excuse.
That's right.
All right. From almost day one, once I hired the coach, I had what I call a Rainmaker day. It was my Wednesdays, and I worked on the practice every Wednesday. And this is the hard part. How do you tell doctors to stop seeing patients one day of the week and only work on the practice?
Right.
And that's the hard part because you make more money working on it than in it. Right.
It's a phrase that is said and repeated so often today,
Right.
but nobody understands it.
Right. You're right.
It's like you know what it is? It's like a phrase in Latin that everyone goes, yeah, I've heard that. E pluribus unum, right? It's on a dollar bill. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Work on the business, not in. So how do you convince them that the Rainmaker Day, it's not a suggestion that it's required? Like it's requisite.
Right.
You know?
Well, you have to reverse engineer the whole process and finding out what they want, why they want it. Now, and after they know that, yeah, you go back into the why, the purpose, and what's important to you in your life, not just the practice, not just the money from the practice, but your life, your relationships, your children, everything, your real why, and how you're going to get that. Okay, so what are we been complaining about? Well, I'm working harder, making less money. My staff is, quits, and I can't retain staff, all that.
That's a big deal.
Right. So
Yeah.
you don't have to, that's the other thing. That's other misconceptions. You have to do everything. No, you just have to find really good people that you can train once who now train others.
Yeah.
So you have a front desk person who's amazing. They train the next front desk person. Same thing with a medical assistant, a nurse, or what have you, a biller, a marketer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to the first part of this question, and that is how do you get them to market? I came on my Rainmaker Day. I sat down with a whole bunch of ideas that I wanted to do, but there was no way that I can do them. I don't have the time for that. So let's figure out, again, another book, the great book, Who, Not How.
Right.
I probably didn't say it in those words back then, but let me get a marketing person. And this is back in 2000, I think. And I'm like, the doctors don't have marketing people. I mean, maybe the big companies like a hospital have a marketing person. Why not me? So hired someone. That didn't work out initially, but finally found the right person. And all I had to do, and this is what the Rainmaker Day is for. It's not a day for you to do things. It's a day where you're relaxed, and now the creative mind comes in, and you think about ideas how to improve the business.
Yeah.
And you sit down with the marketing person. You sit down with the financial person and your staff, and you have weekly meetings. You find out what's going on with them, in their lives. What do they need from me to do their job properly?
Yeah.
And you don't have time to do any of these things while you are being a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you need time to be the owner.
Yeah.
You know, you're the owner of a restaurant, like cooking in the back, right? A nice restaurant, they're not cooking up the meals.
No.
Oh.
Jose Andres is not bad. I mean, unless he's making something for like his staff or something, he is not there.
Right.
He is not there working at 20 different restaurants at once. And that's the thing, right? It's like, you said it perfectly. You said, why not me? Right? These guys suffer and, sort of in silence, right? Running the business. And they don't realize that it's who, not how.
Right.
And it really does take someone, in my opinion, that has walked a mile in their shoes like you, that goes, all right, I was there, right? I was there, right? I was trying to squeeze more volume into the day, but that's not the answer. I think there's something to be said about the equivalency, right? So many business coaches, at least today, like you see them on social media, they've never achieved anything apart from great marketing. And with the sort of advent of this AI technology, where knowledge is sort of democratized and just available, right? Knowledge is no longer something that has to be earned. It's given for free. So it's like having someone who was a clinician and ran a practice that can explain to them, like, I can get you where you need to be. Tell me what the pain points are. I feel like it is something that they should understand. Do you have some great success stories that you can talk about real quick?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing this for part-time 12 years, now full-time the last 2 years. I had someone hire me after 1 year in practice, and she was bringing about $450,000. And in the second year, she brought in, after I coached her for about a year, $1 million in the second year. And
So people hear that. People hear that. They're going to be like, okay, yeah, all right. So here's my card. But tell me just, in 30 seconds, what did you do? Right? How did you get me from 450 to $1 million?
It's organization. It's time management, organization. It's looking at your numbers, putting in goals. I'll tell you one thing that I tell everyone, and some people do it, some people don't, but I've never missed a week without knowing my numbers. And not only knowing your numbers, but it's not about you doing the numbers.
Yeah.
So every person in the office has a purpose. Very simple. The front desk is to make sure the appointment book is full.
That's right.
With productive patients, not anybody, but productive patients. Making sure those patients keep their appointments and collecting all fees of the time of service, right?
Yeah, right.
All these three purposes are measurable. But mistakes that companies make is that they have maybe a big company as an analyst who gathers all the information, right? But the person who should gather that information is the person in charge. So the front desk person should quickly, with their computer system, gather all the information, be able to analyze quickly why the numbers went up, why they went down, because they are working that job. They know exactly why people cancel their appointments. They know why people are not paying their bills. They know the reason why. So then they put together a weekly action plan that will then say, this is what I need to focus on this week. Because the front desk is not an easy job. I'll be the first one to tell you, and I did that job in school. It's one of the hardest jobs in a medical office. I'd rather be in surgery than answer those phones.
Yeah.
Okay. And everything else that goes on in that office. So I understand that, but how do they know what to focus on? And the numbers tell you that. I teach them how to analyze those numbers and then make a plan together. Now they're making the plan. If the staff member's making that plan, they are going to follow through with that plan. It's their plan. It's not my plan to get to them.
And so that plan, let's say, for example, do they then sort of deploy some sort of dashboard of like the most valuable KPIs? And then every week the doctor's meeting on that and sort of understanding like, this is how many appointments we booked. This is how many canceled. This was the revenue per visit, like,
Right.
is it that? Like, do we have a dashboard like that?
Right, exactly. Those numbers are being graphed. And now with AI, I teach them. I used to do this on Excel sheets, right? So now I say, you just tell AI these are the numbers and they make the graph.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's done in 30 seconds. And they then, my meetings were on Mondays. So they will present those numbers to me on Fridays through email. So I can, and with their weekly action plan,
Yeah.
we will go over it with the whole staff on Monday. And because then I get other people's point of view of why numbers went up, why they went down, what have you. And
So you're meeting with their staff.
every Monday for 1 hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay. Yeah, that's big. That's big.
Yeah. I mean, they're my people. I mean,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, the one thing I miss the most about not practicing is the people.
Yeah.
My patients, of course, but also my staff. I love my staff.
But it's so funny because, I talk to so many people and they're like, well, what makes my business weak is my staff. What keeps me up at night is my staff. What gives me dread and anxiety is the constant sort of revolving door of nurses and nurse practitioners and office gals just quitting because I'm this tiny little practice of 4 doctors, let's say, and
Right.
I'm competing with, large health systems for the best talent, but I can't pay them what these large health systems can pay. And it's so funny you said, what I miss most is working with the staff. But it's like when you're in the practice, what gives you the most anxiety, I would imagine, are the people and not the clients. Is that true? Is that false?
Yeah, I guess occasionally we don't go to sleep at night and we have nightmares because of what patient or two.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the staff, and I'll tell you what, Dan Kennedy, right?
Yeah.
Never heard of Dan.
Of course.
He said something he said something that I will never forget. If you have a nightmare about a certain staff member, employee, what have you, for like 3 nights in a row, it's time to fire them. Yeah. And you're not working for them.
Yeah.
Right. And you're working for your family.
Yeah.
And then it's like you can't compete with the big hospitals, but you can do things that big hospitals can't do. You can't provide that family atmosphere. So you have to find the right person that really, like, for example, you have a staff member that tells you from day one, I have no problems working 9 to 5, 9 to 6, what have you. But at 2:00, I need to leave for 15 minutes to pick up my son from the school bus and then drop him off at the house so my mother could take care of him. Right. And you go like, yeah, that's great. So once you come back,
Yeah.
we're good to go. We have enough coverage for those 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes for you to do that. And they will respect that. You respect them and their needs, and they hopefully be a great employee, and most likely they will be. But big hospital can't offer those little things to them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like the little esoteric aspects, the nuances of running a small business that make it feel like home, that make the employees have a emotional bank account. You ever heard that term?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's one of my like favorite things in life, whether it's me with my kids or me with my wife or, working with employees, partners, even emotional bank accounts and overdrawing an emotional bank account, right? But that's been depleted, right? Um, well, that's interesting. I think for so many business owners, they do stress mostly about finding the right help. Um, you talked about you talked about the marketing aspect. Um, do you ever talk to them about the recruiting aspect and performance plans and um, you know, how to negotiate salaries and bonuses? Do you ever get into that aspect?
So for like an associate doctor or something.
Yeah, I mean, it could be
Oh,
basically anyone inside of the office. I just wonder because I hear these horror stories when you're competing with a health system, right? You can have this revolving door. You find the best person and then you lose them a year and a half later. And you talked about something really interesting. You said you get somebody really good. Let's say the gal at the front desk. That sounds extremely sexist, but it is always a gal at the front desk. And she's the best, but she's not creating an SOP on how she does things until you arrive.
sure.
And so maybe would you say that the relief that you get, the the sort of release of tension that you get is that as long as the gal at the front desk, you like how she does her work and you like how she's keeping track of these KPIs and you can't manage what you don't measure. So she's doing a great job on all fronts, right? Sort of with the battle plan. So is that the thing you're like, don't worry if people leave because you've got the secret recipe or you've got the Colonel's secret recipe on how to make the chicken. That's the most important part. Is that sort of what you communicate? Or is it always like, well, listen, you got to pay people more? Or like, is it always just going back to money? Like, we can't afford to lose this person. It's not worth it. Just pay them.
Right. Now, money is not the number one motivator. Of all the motivators, it's maybe from what I read, it's like 5 or 6, but it's definitely not the number one motivator that people want, especially, and you alluded to this earlier, William, it's especially today's generation. They want to be part of something. They want to know they're making a difference in the company and other people's lives. So if you have a really good person and you have another person that's not so good, I am more I am almost 100% sure the owner is spending more time with the person that's not doing a great job compared to the person that's doing an amazing job. Because, oh, Sally's great. We can leave her alone, let her do her work. But, Josephine here, she needs a lot of help. Okay. She's not getting it or whatever. And we don't pay enough attention to what I call the A players.
Right.
Right. We don't spend time to find out what we really want. And if we do the things, allow them the little leeway of, like I said, to pick up the child at the school bus, that we, as long as they produce, okay, they have to really be loyal, be involved, care about their position, and they show interest, right? And they want to learn more. Um, you know that there's competition out there,
That's right.
and you know how much you're paying them. A lot of us like, oh, I'm paying her only $17 an hour. I'm like, ooh, I'm saving some money there. Are you really saving money? Because eventually she's more. Some people have the guts to ask you for more money,
Yeah.
but some people want you to recognize their work, and they're like, you know what? It's not. I'm not cutting it here. I need to make more money,
Yeah.
and they just go find another job, and they don't even give you a warning saying, hey,
Yeah. They're
I need more money.
Yeah.
They're people,
Yeah.
right? So then you need to like really. That's why these 6-month and yearly reviews, they're necessary, but it's a check-in weekly, monthly. That's where you can't wait.
That's the emotional bank account part, right? That knowing that that their father just, died and the mom has to move in with them and then she's got to get some round the clock care when she's not there. And you'd never know unless you're, empathetically sort of interested in sort of what's going on in their lives. I think it's so nuanced running a business. You have to worry about so many things. Um, you know,
Yeah.
a while back, Ben Shapiro um, was standing on stage and some young student, he was at a university, who's a socialist, like so many students today are. They're like, well, if there's a pencil factory, I believe the workers should have more rights because they're coming to work, they're putting their lives on hold, and they're willing to you know, they're willing to work for you, and that means everything, right? Which is, you know, workers of the world unite, right? It's that
Right.
sort of communist manifesto. And Ben Shapiro went through why that theory is incorrect. Because the guy that owns the pencil factory buys the lumber, buys the lead, buys the, capital equipment, puts his name on the lease, like does everything that's necessary. Again, analogy, for, podiatry office is the same thing. They've got the student loans, they got the practice loan, they need the capital equipment, they need financing for the instruments and the software and, you know, everybody's salaries and consumables. And, but then you forget that okay, that's one aspect of the business. Then we got the people aspect. Then we got the marketing. So you go into these businesses and you dial these things in. Let's say you dial in the marketing and the people. What makes a practice, like you talked about, like what they want? Well, let's say they want an exit. How do you go into a business and they say, well, we're looking for an exit? Like what makes a practice sellable? And then what are the early signs? Because you're in their business, right? Every week. What are the early signs that are start manifesting where it's like, all right, yeah, we can take this to an exit. We can get this rolled up, either selling to a strategic, right? Selling to private equity, because I know they're heavily involved in sort of rolling these things up. Um,
That's who bought my practice, by the way.
is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Sold it 3 years ago. Yeah.
To private equity.
Private equity. Yeah.
And were you happy with that result?
Oh, so in overall, yes. And I'll tell you what. I don't like the way my practice is right now. If I had to go back to it.
Yeah.
Right. And
Because it's
Because-
run by a bean counter.
yes,
Right.
by only one number counts, and that's EBITDA.
That's right. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So I'll-
understand.
I'm 62,
Yeah.
right? And I have this other passion that I want to do. I've been actually been solicited by 4 private equity companies over the years. And 3 years prior to the sale, I was solicited, and I said, well, I think I could do better. So I had an mission to really grow this really the best I could in the next 3 years.
And when you say to grow it, you were specifically focused on the EBITDA though, right?
Right. Well, EBITDA and just the total collections and not increasing overhead as much. Right. So it's even.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So absolutely. And I'm like, well, okay, it's time for me to sell. I got a great offer. So I'm happy about that. So yes. I had to work for them. I ended up working for them for about 1.5 years.
Sure.
And but I was okay because they made a mistake. I have a new CEO now, but the old CEO paid me purely salary, which is in a way great. Gave me a good salary. And why I say it's a mistake on their part is because my revenue per visit was the highest ever, one of the highest in the organization, in the company. But I had no control over the number of patients that were coming into the office because the first thing they do is fire the marketing person.
Right.
Because they don't have a market. They don't do marketing. Yeah. Right. So now I have 3 other big podiatry practices around me, and I'm losing patients.
Right.
So I can have more time to do more things per patient. So that's fine. But if I was getting paid a percentage per, whatever,
It would
based on what I did, I would have lost money.
Yeah, you would have lost money.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fact is, I did what I was supposed to do. I worked hard, took care of my patients, and ran home. And they were upset that the overall numbers of that practice went down. I said, you killed the marketing machine.
Yeah.
You bought the practice. You saw how I got those patients.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was, I'm telling you, my marketing percentage was about 5 or 6%. So it wasn't astronomical.
You're talking about
A lot of it,
you're talking about relative to revenue? 5%.
yeah, right.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
Now,
low. That's low.
That's low.
That's low.
Yeah. Harvard says, it should be about 10%.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, but I did a lot of internal marketing, email marketing, newsletters. I had people in social media. I mean, that's a cost.
Yeah.
But they killed that. So I said, that's not your job. That's why I sold it to you.
Yeah. So you
Right.
stayed on for a year and a half contractually.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
handed it off. This private equity company that bought it, how many similar practices did they already own when they came to you?
When they came to me, they were only 1 year into it
Oh, okay.
at the time.
Sure.
So they're fairly new, but now I got to tell you, now it's, it's about 4 years old, 4.5 years old.
Yeah.
They have about 100 doctors in the organization.
Funny how fast they scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I know we're running low on time, but I want to ask you just a couple more questions. Are you good on time?
Yeah, I'm good.
Would you ever, because you didn't answer my question, but I'm going to come back
Yeah,
this.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Because I was curious. I wanted to know. And I think people will want to know. Right.
Sure.
So, that are interested in selling to private equity, what does it look like to have a boss? Because that's not something they necessarily understand, that for a certain amount of time, contractually, you have a boss. But if you had the opportunity to buy back your practice today, not necessarily be the operator, but buy it back, would you?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
I love the building part of that, of business,
Yeah.
growing it. I think it would be a really good challenge. I know the doctors who are there and they're great people. And I know exactly what I would do first. And I know
Let's put some money together and go buy that thing.
let's do it.
Yeah. When you come into these going back to those earlier questions, you're speaking to the doctor that's just hired you, and it's going back to it. It's right. It's the who, not how. It's the whole why not me. What you're looking at the pain points. I'm like, well, hey, listen, I'm hiring you because eventually I want to be playing golf, right? Like I want to do archery, art. I always wanted to be a photographer. So what makes a practice sellable? And then going back to the follow-up question to that, I feel like this is the White House press room or whatever. I'm giving you like a multi-parted question, but what are the early signs that you see that manifest? You're like, all right, we got some here. We can market this for sale.
Right. One is the people, not necessarily the present owner, because he's going to be selling it.
Right.
It's the staff, it's the people, it's the organization, it's the flow. Is it a well-oiled machine? Do they have AV systems? Do they have the systems written down? That's really important, because now it's duplicatable. It takes pressure off of me. If I'm buying the practice, I don't have to put together a whole SOPs for every aspect. That it's profitable, that I see that hasn't reached or even reached near its 100% growth, and there's room for growth. Because and then the business is not all about the owner. So I'm just talking about business in general. If the owner leads, what will the attrition rate be?
Yeah.
And in most cases, believe it or not, everybody has egos. Doctors have big egos. And we think that when a doctor leaves, we're going to lose patients. You lose a couple,
Yeah.
a handful, but it's about more than that. It's about if they like the staff, they feel comfortable in the office.
That's right.
If the new doctor also makes that patient feel comfortable, they'll give the new doctor a chance because most of the time they like the practice, they like the proximity to their home or the work, and so it's convenient. If it's not convenient, they might just switch doctors because they have to go to a new doctor anyway, so might as well switch doctors.
Yeah.
Most of the times it's convenient. So I'm looking at those things. I'm looking at I really do a deep dive in this whole thing, the P&Ls. I'm looking at where the expenses are. I'm looking for things that are sort of hidden, in the P&L,
Yeah.
right? But
The Ferrari.
I will tell you, now doctors say I want to sell it, and I tell them you're not gonna get much for it. We need to use this time now to grow it. Let's take the next year or two and really make this really profitable. So now you'll get more money.
What kind of multiple can they get from
Oh,
give me an example, like a multiple from private equity versus a strategic, right? Somebody else that has a few, offices and wants to buy them.
sure. If it's private equity, they're the ones who work on multiples. If I'm a doctor buying a doctor's practice, it doesn't work that way
Okay.
because we're not private equity. So private equity will it depends. In the podiatry field, around 5x.
Okay. That's not bad.
Really good practice. Yeah, and I've seen 3 to 5x, sometimes 6x on a really good practice.
So what's a typical practice like that you've worked with? Are they, 1 to 5 million in revenue?
Sure, that's about right. I mean, I've worked with up to like 6 million in revenue.
Okay.
Those are really lots of different offices, a lot of doctors, but most of them are in that range.
Yeah. So the strike zone is somewhere between $5 to $25 million, depending on where they fall in that EBITDA range.
Yeah, no, well, that's what they're bringing in. The EBIT is not 1 million to 3 million.
Yeah.
So it's like, so we're looking at,
What are the margins? We like, is it like 20, 30% maybe?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
That's right on the money. That's
Okay.
right on the money.
So maybe 1 to 3 million is their payout if they saw.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And how does that compare? Like, do you sort of plot out the different options when they say that, what I'm looking to do is build systems and processes, dashboards, KPIs, in order to sell? And you're like, all right, well, these are your two options. And do you sort of describe that? And push them towards one versus the other? Do you explain like, well, I went the PE route and these are the nightmares and this is the expectation and, here's your alternatives? I mean, do you paint that full picture?
Yeah, exactly. I tell them that if you're like a young doc and you want to practice for another, more than 5 years, you shouldn't sell to private equity or to anyone.
Yeah.
Because you already spent 20 some odd years working for yourself. You're not going to be able to work for someone else, unless it's like. And the problem is that once you like have that feeling that I just can't do this anymore,
Right.
your practice tanks.
Yeah.
And you lose that passion.
That's right.
The numbers go down, and now you can't sell it. Right. So my goal is to get them to have that passion back and put in those systems in place that they can still be a doctor.
Yeah.
And you don't have to really, just spend a day a week, like I said, the Rainmaker day, and learn how to run it and get your team up.
It's interesting because you said that once the passion leaves, then the sort of business falls apart. I think it's funny, like how the human brain works. The anxiety of having to run the business can, over time, displace the passion, right? And so it's like, I bet I bet you have some really cool stories of how building up these businesses to sort of run themselves, how that sort of made space, if you will, for the business owner to sort of fall in love, right, with the business that they started 20 years ago, right?
Right. And you just, again, we have to revisit 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Why did you open up?
Why did you open it? You got to get to the
Right. And then go back to like,
Yeah.
this is something that I do almost every morning, go over my goals and my purpose,
Yeah.
right? And your morning routine. And that just makes you feel like, okay, this is why I'm walking to the gym, half a mile in cold weather in New York City,
Yeah.
because I have a true reason why,
Yeah.
on purpose.
Yeah. It's funny, right? There's a difference between motivation and discipline, right?
Yeah.
Motivation will get you to put on your running shoes when you got 70-degree weather outside and, and a nice
Right.
breeze. But it's not going to get you to put on your running shoes when it's snowing in New York City. And that's the discipline. That's the discipline part.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, we focused for like the last almost hour, hour 15. We focused on your clients. We haven't focused on you. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to talk about before we sort of do the plugs, but I got a question for you about you.
Okay.
You run this business. I remember you telling me I did this part-time for 12. I'm a good note taker, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did it. I've been doing it full-time for the last 2 years. Would you ever let yourself get acquired by private equity in order to be someone that goes and rolls up these types of businesses? Could you ever go back to working for someone else?
Oh, I can't work with someone.
And so tell me why.
Because um I'm a control freak, but I don't control other people. I control how I want things to be done. Um, and not saying it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that either, but I know that, okay, we have a meeting and the staff says, we ask questions and we make a decision. I can make a decision faster. Being an owner, I could get things done faster. I could make things happen faster. It's just, there's too many people involved in big corporations, and it takes a while to make a decision. And it's really, really hard to get things done. It's like, for example, like if I'm back in my practice, you say, well, the volume is down. Well, it's a volume problem. And well, we have to put back the marketing machine.
Yeah.
We put back the marketing plan. And we hire the marketing person back, and we just get it going.
Okay.
And
So you say you can't do it, but I'm from Compass or Shore or whatever, Alveron. I'm a private equity guy, and I find Peter and I'm like, this is the guy I want. And you can run this independent business unit where we just, take this fragmented, I don't know how many podiatry office, 4,500, 5,000 offices nationwide, right? And it's fragmented and compressed margins and, you're an expert. And I'll give you this business unit and I want you to run it. You wouldn't do it.
no, if you telling me that I would love to run a part of a company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would like to run it. Of course, you have your uppers and whatever. I get it.
Yeah. But you could autonomously run this unit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not owning it, so that's a different story. So I would love to run it.
Yeah.
Of course, because again, it's building something.
Yeah.
It's growing something.
I listen.
Yeah.
And let me
Exactly.
let me tell you the reason I asked you that question. You're working with these podiatrists that are talking to you about the why. I want more time to pursue my passions. That's why I'm looking for an exit. And then they realize that after they sell, they're like, well, what do I do? I need a better reason. But that there is life after practicing, right? There are so many options, right? Whether it's research, expert witness, there's so many different avenues. And so I got you, who seemingly were vehemently sort of in disagreement about going to work at private equity. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You head a business unit, you're autonomous, you make your own decisions, you've got an unlimited bank account, right? So just, it's interesting. Like when you do get down to the motivations of people, right, you can find, right, an agreement. You can get them to do something that they were either uncomfortable or seemingly unwilling to do. And I find that like I think specifically with doctors, and you can disagree or agree with this point, but I would say they're seemingly the most difficult to coach because
Oh,
I don't know. It would
oh
seem
yeah,
that way.
not easy. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're set in their ways, and it's hard to change.
Yeah.
And yeah, and but I see myself this coaching doctors is not where my end like my end game, and that is companies, CEOs, and helping them
What
as well.
give me some more give me some background. Give me some more color on that. So coaching doctors, now we're 2 years into this full time. Coaching doctors is one. So in the next 5, 10 years, right? What does that plan? What does the arc look like for Peter?
Sure. Beyond multiple stages, um, motivational speaker, um, leader, leadership trainings, helping out big organizations and companies, developing the people. I love working with people. Okay, and I hear this phrase all the time, like your superpower, right? And another phrase, but bottom line is I'm good at understanding what people need and getting what they really need out of them, and knowing if you have the right team and
Yeah.
putting teams together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, this is exciting stuff. I think, for the people that end up watching this and hopefully um you market this well, right? You cut this up and put it on your social media and you get people to sort of, understand sort of what makes you who you are, right? What your superpowers are, how you speak the dialect of doctor, but also the dialect of an entrepreneur, right? I hope people see that. I hope people, right, like take an interest in hiring you. Um, I think, you're onto something with this, right? So many doctors are stuck in the rut of, do you remember that old movie from the 80s, Groundhog Day
Sure,
with Bill
of
Murray?
course.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah,
yeah, it's just like they wake up in the morning and they make themselves a Keurig. It kills me because I like coffee. And a buddy of mine, Alex, who's a vascular surgeon in San Diego, is like, yeah, I just make myself a little Keurig. It's like, that's not living. He's like, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I do surgeries, and Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm meeting with patients. And it's just like, I'm booked out, whatever, 120 days in advance, right? I get, 2 weeks off, right? Like, it's not a life, it's a rut. And now he sold his business to a hospital system. And now he has a boss. So like he was able to like cash in, but it's like, well, how do you enjoy the money? And that's the part that it that's so interesting about your business, which is you give them back the freedom that they almost never even realized they had.
right.
They got married and they had babies and they were absent. And all the money that they're making, what's the, what's it's like the
But
game show where you don't win the showcase showdown and you go home with like a lazy boy or something. You're like, oh,
right,
I had
constellation.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like they get to drive a Ferrari to work. That's the trade-off. Like you gave up our freedom, you gave up 30 years of your life to drive, a $300,000 sports car. But there's more to life, right? That you got to earn back your freedom. And I think, if you're a doctor or an entrepreneur that is stuck in that rut, that Bill Murray sort of Groundhog Day repetitive paradigm that is seemingly impossible to escape, you should reach out to Peter. Peter, how do we get in touch with you? What are,
Sure. You can reach me at my email, which is drwishnie@gmail.com. And my Instagram is coach_Peter Wishnie.
Gotcha. Okay.
And yeah, so one of those ways. And I got to tell you, this is one of the best interview podcasts you've been on. Yeah, you're great at what you do.
I appreciate it. You're a great guest. Listen, I find what you do interesting. Um, I really do because I have two I guess it's close to my heart. I've got too many friends in my circle that need a guy like Peter, right, to escape this this repetitive sort of matrix that they're stuck in. Um, and and I think it's like you said, right? It doesn't stop with doctors or podiatrists. It extends to every vertical. You know, you run a solar business, or you drywall, or you run a bunch of car wash, whatever the case may be, whatever vertical you chose to sort of you know get get stuck in,
Right.
because that's what it is, the proverbial being stuck. Um, we don't necessarily have the tools. We certainly don't learn in med school, but you're not learning in dental school, and you're not learning it as a contractor. You're not learning how to market the business, what KPIs to pay attention to. And even if you did, that becomes a secondary, tertiary, quaternary skill that you're not focused on because you're so consumed with the day to day. And I think if you're lucky enough to hire Peter, you will achieve what you want, whether it be that exit, right, or just freedom in general, which I think you earned it. And that's the point, right? You've earned your freedom. Let me show you how to, you know, actuate. Let me show you that there's freedom on the other side of that door. And listen, it's a two-way door, meaning that if you go through the door and you got the freedom, you're like, oh, this is great, perfect. But if not, and you want to come back and be more integrated into the business, you can too. We're just saying that the door exists. So exactly. It was so awesome having you, Peter. I really appreciate your here. Yeah. Keep in touch, and
Absolutely.
yeah, and let me know what the next stage is, right? You said speaking, and I think an institute would be cool, right? Where you're hiring people underneath you that are specialists in respective industries. I'd like to see this grow beyond, right? Grow beyond, working with doctors and such. And it's like you said at the outset of this conversation, um, you know, you don't just have to coach doctors, right? Like
No.
every industry requires the same skill sets and investment in, um, in sort of measuring and then managing what you measure.
Exactly.
And that's what makes, you know, that's what makes what you're doing so amazing, because it can touch, this same sort of skill set can be applicable to sort of any vertical. I've had a ball. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And just so you know, for your listeners, I offer a complimentary coaching call for 30 minutes. So anybody needs that, they can
Yeah.
just reach out to me.
Get a hold of Peter. I've got Facebook.com/Dr. Wishnie, Instagram, Coach_Peter Wishnie, LinkedIn, right? Dr. Peter Wishnie, and of course your website, right? Which is www.drpeterwishnie.
It's www. Yes, Peter Wishnie.
Yeah.
That's Peter Wishnie.
Right on.
Yeah.
Ah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Thank you
Yeah, yeah.
so much.
All right, cool. Thanks.